Hi, I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Sophie, and we are here to help guide you to the why behind your wellness why.
Come join us on our journey. Hey, Sophie, how are you?
I'm good. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. We stayed in North Carolina this year. Normally, I always go to Denver to visit my brother and sister-in-law and nieces, and my family goes out there, and it's just been cool to experience different Thanksgivings in different places. So far, I've experienced it in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Colorado, South Carolina, North Carolina,
Oh my
and
God.
I know all over the place. And it's cool to see how everyone's Thanksgiving traditions are so different. It's just really fascinating to see what people do with their day and, of course, what food people are eating. And Thanksgiving's a challenging holiday for a lot of people, not only because of necessarily food, but even over the past few years, maybe not being able to travel or be with family. So I'm just very thankful that I have been able to do that. And it's been cool to see the different patterns of it all.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. How about you? What did you do for Thanksgiving?
We went to my grandma's in Park Ridge, and I don't think I have ever been to anyone else's Thanksgiving. I love my family's Thanksgiving. My uncle is a chef. So,
That's awesome.
oh yeah, we eat very well.
What's your favorite Thanksgiving food? I'm dying to know.
Mashed potatoes and gravy, like his gravy, I could
Same.
live off of. Yeah.
Mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes are like my favorite food. Growing up, it was always a joke that like I could live off of mashed potatoes. So good.
Oh yeah.
Good.
Um, but my half my family doesn't celebrate Thanksgiving.
Wait,
Um,
what?
yeah, because it's really only mostly in America. And my dad was born and raised in France. And my aunts and uncles and cousins and grandparents all live there and they don't celebrate. But today we're going to discuss a little bit about culture and environment and the differences in food and eating habits.
Yeah, and how it impacts all of that. So it's been super noticeable, I think, again, over the past few years because people, again, are moving because of the pandemic or their environments might have changed because of it. And with Thanksgiving just having happened, whatever I'm trying to say, we've noticed that it just can impact like our eating habits can be so impacted by our cultures and by our environment and in both positive and potentially negative ways. So we thought this was a really good time of year to be talking about it. And because you mentioned your family being from France, you actually just did a trip there, right?
Yes, I did.
Tell us about it. What did you notice in terms of like eating habits, exercise, all of that stuff?
Oh, yeah. So I had to make up some food since I hadn't been there in 6.5 years. So a couple of the days I had two croissants. Um,
Also, I wish I could say that like that.
I
You
threw,
speak French?
yes, a little bit. I'm not as good as I used to be.
We're gonna get you to talk French on this podcast.
Oh, no, no, no. I actually also lived there for a month in college and made a class out of it. I got a credit for basically talking about the differences between American culture and food and the French. So growing up going there, and I know it was on vacation, but we would go to the grocery store every single day. In the morning, we would wake up, we would talk as a family, discuss what we wanted for the meals, and take turns going to the grocery store and getting the meals for that day. Granted, I'm sure they don't do that every single day in their daily life, but I know the way their grocery stores are and the way they live, they do not go to the grocery store once a week like we do here.
Hmm.
Um, which is awesome because you're getting fresher food, you're being way less wasteful.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, all that stuff. And like when you go eat out there, it's so interesting. The servers don't like check on you. And I feel like Americans are always like, what? They don't want to rush you. Like if you need anything, you have to wave them down, which is like not rude. It's literally just a cultural thing. And their meals there are very long. Like I said, they don't rush you out of restaurants. Like a meal is like 2 hours there, maybe more. Like dinner is like 3 hours there. It's
I love
not, yeah, it's not rushed. You all sit around and talk and eat and like really enjoy the meal. And they eat, I feel like delayed. Like their breakfast is later, their lunch is at like 2 o'clock, and their dinner is at like 8:30, which I personally don't like.
that.
Maybe that's why I'm like a night owl at heart, because they like go to bed later there, wake up later. Like it's just so much more relaxed. And I guess it clearly impacts their food life with their
Yeah.
meals being relaxed, all that stuff.
What do you feel like, just from your experience, how do you feel like their day-to-day life varies from ours, in terms of like, here we're a lot of people, including myself and my clients and friends and family, like one of the main reasons we go to the grocery store only once a week or a couple of times a week, or maybe even once every couple of times a week, is because of time. So just like time between our jobs and family things going on, like what, from your experience of having family over there and spending time over there, what do you think is the biggest difference?
I mean, they do take their lunch. Like so many of my clients like are eating and working, and which I hate. But yeah, they like take their lunch. Like I even remember being a kid and walking around in Honfleur and like the north of France, and being like, oh, the store I wanted to go to is closed. There's like a sign up like getting lunch, be back in 2 hours, like whatever. It's just like so different, like their work-life balance, and they walk everywhere. And there's a lot of little like grocery stores and little shops, whereas here, I mean, the market is saturated, but not as much, I feel
Mhm.
like, I think, which could be another reason.
Yeah, so work-life balance, it sounds like, is kind of the main difference, which again is hard, because I think a lot of people will listen to this and either have experienced the same thing, like either being abroad or living abroad, and having a family abroad, and like being like, it's amazing over there. I wish we had that lifestyle. And it's hard because we can't just change that lifestyle overnight, but it is just, again, interesting. We're not talking about it being right or wrong or things
Mhm.
like that. It's just the conversation of how our culture and environment can change that. And I experienced it too. I studied abroad as well when I was in between my sophomore and junior year over the summer. And I was located in France and London. And then we did like weekend trips to all different areas, Prague, Germany, Switzerland, kind of different areas. And it was really cool. It was super fast paced because we weren't just in one area. We were always hopping around. And just like you said, just the environment of the place, the cultures of the place, it just completely changed in every single
Yeah.
location. And I mean, again, that was now a long time ago. So I'm sure things have even changed from then. But something else that I really noticed when I was studying abroad there, and I think this also happens in the United States, is food availability depending on where you are. So I'll never
Mhm.
forget being in France, and two foods that I could not find were peanut butter and oatmeal.
Oh
And that's like
boy.
what I lived off of in college for breakfast, was like oatmeal with peanut butter. And I remember getting there and being like, I can't find this. Like, wait, what? Which again, I was like way younger. I was wanting to, just if I could do it over again, looking back, but it's just interesting.
Well, like breakfast there versus breakfast here is so different. I feel like I see the biggest difference meal wise in that. Like there they have like coffee and toast. Like they don't
Mhm.
have like eggs, bacon, hash browns. Don't get me, I love American breakfast, but like I love French breakfast, like perfectly crisp toast, like baguette toasted with like butter that is like melted and perfect.
Yeah, so good. Yes.
That lacks protein.
And when you eat a well-balanced meal, you should have.
Yeah, a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah.
But Chelsea, I know you are working with people across the country now virtually, and
Mhm.
do you see differences kind of in food and environment? I mean, environment is obviously clear with food availability sometimes as well at the seasons, but
Yeah.
tell me what you see in.
So that is something that I would say over the past year has probably been the biggest thing that I've noticed. As we had talked about, I think in the first podcast, I just relocated from Chicago to North Carolina. And so I actually, even though I do, like you had mentioned, I do work with clients all over the United States and see how people's eating habits vary because of, again, where they're located or their availability. I now have experienced it firsthand as well. Our stores here sell completely different products and brands and even
So
like in the
interesting.
produce, yeah, even in the produce section, just what is available in terms of like the pre-cut veggies versus like the types of lettuces. And I think to an extent, we're living in 2021, almost 2022, where I think most things are across the nation, but it is really interesting seeing like I have to be very careful now with recommending specific brands because individuals might not be able to find them or easily find them. I think that's the advantage of, living in the world we live in is things are readily available in terms of like online shopping. So, ordering food from specific websites. Like I just talked yesterday about Perfect Bars, ordering like from their website.
Yeah.
And then there's so many, online areas too where you can buy your groceries. So like Thrive Market and things like that. So I do think there is consistency across the nation, but I also think that there is a huge variety as well. And so when recommending products to clients or even just talking through clients' challenges, I think that's something that I've found with a lot of individuals that I've worked one-on-one with is at some point in their journey, they'll bring up an experience of, well, I used to do this in the past, or my friend is doing this, or my family member is doing this for whatever reason. And we'll talk through that and we'll talk through whether it be, again, like their past of why they're comparing them to themselves or their family or their friends. And one of the biggest things that we pick up on is their culture and environment is different in the situation that they're in now. So again, maybe they had success with something nutrition wise 5 years ago, but maybe they lived in a completely different state, or
Yeah.
maybe their environment was different, their availability was different. So I think that's a big area as just people that we don't think about. I think we compare ourselves to each other so much. And I think everybody knows that. And people always talk about, don't compare yourself to someone on social media. You're a different person. You're, built different. You're from a different place. But I think one thing that we don't think about or talk about enough is how not only, yes, you are different, but why are you different? Like, again, just
Mhm.
that culture, that environment, that your surroundings might be different, and that's okay. I mean, that's again just a part of the journey.
Which affects your daily life, which affects your food and your
Yep.
exercise and all
Mhm.
of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Even for me, one of the biggest things, I was actually just talking to a client the other day about this, is so now obviously I'm on the East Coast and I'm an Eastern time, and you would think a 1 hour time difference would have no impact. And that's honestly been the most challenging thing for me. And I'm still not adjusted. And
Really?
Yeah. So like before, in Chicago, I would wake up anywhere from 5 to 7 a.m., depending on my schedule. I was an early bird. I liked waking up in the morning, but I think there's a lot of reasons, but like to this day, still I'm struggling with waking up in the morning. And, it's like everything is kind of pushed back, kind of like you were saying with like in France, everything is later. And I don't want to say like my situation, everything is later, but it's just so used to for so many years. I was on Central Time. And so my body, it's just as we all experience with like changing the clocks every year. I really think my body is just ingrained in Central Time. So to be determined how that goes. But yeah, so even the time zone you're in, all of that.
Yeah. And I just want to say one of my favorite quotes with what Chelsea was talking about is, even if we all ate the same and worked out the same, we would still look different. So you shouldn't compare yourself to not only people's food, what they eat every day, but their workouts. Because even if you worked out exactly like I did, you're not going to look like me. And I'm not going to look like you if I did what you do.
Yeah. And it's something that's a huge area that I will say I think individuals are noticing, and that is being talked about way more, which I think is great. But I think especially for individuals our age or around our age, it's just been ingrained in our
Social media.
society for so long that it's also like really, really hard to get out of. So that's also something like I know you work with your clients on, and I work with my clients on too, is not only just the education piece, but talking through those things, because as easy as it is to just say, okay, I'm going to stop comparing myself. I know that's not good. I know that's not healthy and all of that type of stuff. It's way easier said than done. And so that's where it's so important to have someone, a friend, a family member, a support group, a therapist, a dietitian, or a personal trainer. The list goes on and on. Someone to be that support system of being able to just talk you through those challenges, because so many people are experiencing them.
Totally agree.
So we are starting a little bit of a fun takeaway with all of these podcasts. Woo. And so we are going to tell you a little bit about a to-do that we want you to think about. Sophie, take it away.
Just some food for thought, pun intended. Think about maybe if you're on a walk, or when you journal tonight or something, or talk about it with some friends, maybe ask them about this as well. Think about how your family's culture and environment around food and growing up versus how it is now. Maybe see if like you lived somewhere when you were younger, you moved somewhere else after college, how your environment and culture around food has changed. Is it the same when you go back home? All those things.
I love that. I think it's so good, because so much of what we do now is subconsciously ingrained from our past, and a lot of times even our childhood. So that's something too that is a whole nother topic, but you're exactly right. Thinking about where you came from, your family's culture, your family's environment, where you are now, all of that stuff. Again, I think we all know it has an impact, but sometimes we don't take the time to sit down and think about it. So like Sophie said, talk to someone, journal it, write things down, look a little bit into your history. And we'd love to hear from you on some things that you had either learned or just thought in more detail about, reflected on, all that good stuff. So let us know.
Yes. Thank you for tuning in.
We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.